everybody. Welcome back to the Smart Marketing Connect podcast. My name is Tom Libby. I'm your host here and one of the co-founders of Smart Marketing Connect. This episode of the podcast is what we call our 5-minute follow-up. And I've welcomed back Adam to our podcast to give us an extra 5 minutes of his time to go a little deeper into a particular conversation. But before we get started with that, and before I ask Adam the question, give you an opportunity, Adam, if you don't mind, just give us your 30-second elevator pitch. Just remind everybody who you are, what you do, that kind of stuff. So that way the question actually makes sense to everybody.
Yeah. So I founded Tork Media, which is a large content distribution network. And I work mostly with smaller digital marketing agencies that are US, UK, Australia, English speaking.
Awesome. So one of the reasons I was excited to have you back on the podcast, we kind of started talking about in the previous podcast, and I always ask everybody about small business tools and things like that, and the must-haves that small business owners kind of have to have in order to make them successful. And I felt like we could have probably talked about that for a lot longer than we did on the original podcast version. So I thought this would be a great idea to ask you about that again. So maybe we could talk about it in a little bit more in depth about like money saving opportunities with the tools, maybe some of the processes in which they use. And I know you have a little bit of additional information you want to throw in there. I won't ruin it for everybody, but I'll let you kind of talk about it on your own. But yeah, so go for it. If I have a clarity question or something like that, I might interrupt you, but for the most part, I'll let you just go off and talk about this stuff on however you choose to do so. But yeah, so Adam, let's hear it. How do you use these things and save some money and move forward with processes?
So this is going to be geared mostly towards small business owners who are also digital marketing agency owners. But if you own a small business in general, at least one of these things is going to apply to you. So I'm going to start with the more generic things first. And this is a very specific tax strategy that I use and I advise all my small business agency client owners to use as well. It's called the Augusta strategy. Ask your CPA what this is. If you don't have a CPA, just Google it. It's been around for a long time. It allows you, if you live in the United States and you own an LLC or you operate as an LLC, you can rent your primary residence to your small business. The money that flows from your small business into your personal bank account for that rental payment, that's tax-free. Plus, if it's flowing out of your business account into your personal account, that payment is tax deductible. So you're moving money from business to personal. It's not taxed as personal income, and it is a write-off. You have to have some documentation around that transaction, and there are certain limits and caveats, but it does work the way that I've described it. I've just simplified it, and that's called the Augusta strategy. That works for all small business owners who own their primary residence, live in it some of the time at least, and they're operating out of the United States.
And so people's CPAs should really know and understand this, right? Like if you ask your CPA about it,
every single CPA will know exactly what that is.
Okay.
Some will tell you, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Some will say it's up to you. And some are already advising their clients to do it.
Yeah, gotcha.
It literally depends on who your CPA is. This next strategy really only applies to digital agency owners. If you do SEO or digital PR as a service, then I know you are spending thousands of dollars a month acquiring placements, featured articles, guest posts, link building for your clients. And that is something that I have built a solution to solve 80% of that headache and reduce your costs by up to 80%. So my tagline for digital agency owners, if they use my tax strategies and my link building tool, I can save them $100,000 annually on taxes and costs, just between the Augusta strategy and my link building solution. Now, there's a third thing, and this only applies to small businesses who have at least 10 or more W-2 employees based in the United States. with that many employees, full-time W-2 employees, you're most likely going to be paying some sort of group health insurance to them or have a plan in place, whether it's self-funded or whatever. There's a rule called Section 125 of the IRS that, again, this is very simplified. It means it allows you to take out those premiums pre-tax from your employees' accounts, and that removes most of your FICA taxes, which is around $500 a year per employee. So the more employees you have, the less you're paying in FICA taxes if you just restructure your group health insurance plan using Section 125. Again, there's some caveats, some rules, as with everything in the IRS. But again, your CPA will know that this exists. You can ask them about it. And I invested in a company that this is all they do. They help restructure those plans. And I had to get a health insurance license to be able to do that. So I did.
Just add it to the list of things, right? That's awesome. Well, Adam, thank you. I swear, I think you're literally timed yourself. I think that was 5 minutes, like on the dot. So I certainly appreciate the punctuality of this. But no, that was awesome. All of that was great information, and you know, I actually wrote a couple of notes even for myself. So hopefully everybody listening will get a little bit of a nugget out of that. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming back on the podcast. Thank you very much. This was awesome, very informative. So thank you again.
My pleasure.
And for everybody else watching, keep selling.